So, what is going on, guys? This is Ryan here.
And this is the Ryan here.
Hey everyone, it's Razbowski here.
What's going on, guys? Stilko here.
And today we're actually going to be discussing the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 image teaser.
Okay, so we've got the sexy image of a brand new animatronic up on scottgames.com that he beautifully teased for us on Monday night. But who is he? Who is this beautiful yet fantastically scary animatronic that Scott has given us now?
I was going to say, it's beautifully terrifying.
Yeah, I wouldn't say beautiful. Dear God.
But yeah, it's a question that's been circulating quite a lot. I think everyone's debating who this could be, and I don't know, what do you guys think?
So I personally believe that this could be Spring Freddy, just because it has the same kind of look, the same damage as Spring Trap does.
Yeah, if you have a look at his shoulders, we were talking about this before we started recording. If you have a look at his shoulders and his whole overall look and his whole feel is very, very Spring Trappy, very, very Spring Bonnie, and the damage in even if you have a look at the top Freddy that's pouring, the mini Freddy, the wee Freddy that's popping out of his chest, it's the same sort of hole, same sort of cavity that you saw on Spring Trap, where you know how you saw the purple guy's neck and his veins, and his throat and stuff. That's the same one that the top mini Freddy's popping out of. So they're very, very similar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and secretively as well, Scott's been really smart to hide this, folks, and I think we all know the reason why is because there's secretly 5 fingers, but the last finger is actually underneath the first finger at the front, and I think he's done that purposely to make us think, no, it's 4 fingers, no, it's 5 fingers, and obviously we know that the 5 fingers are to do with the spring animatronics, what are able to be worn by the employees at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And we know this as well because Springtrap is the only costume with 5 fingers. All of the other animatronics have 4 fingers, so it obviously means that humans can wear these costumes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a big debate, hasn't it, the whole 4-5 finger thing. But I think another thing which backs the whole idea that this other animatronic has the crank ability, and is actually the second suit, is the fact that the endoskeleton underneath looks very similar to Springtrap's as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it just all seems to really hint towards that. And actually, now moving on to section 2, there is a lot of 8 and 7 all over this website, and we're going to actually be talking, what does 87 mean? Now, I'm sure you guys are getting ideas already.
Yes, obviously the bite of 1987 is the biggest mystery of Five Nights at Freddy's. No one knows who bit. Maybe some people have ideas of who done it, like Mangle, Foxy, Freddy. I mean, everyone's a suspect, but I think in this Five Nights at Freddy's we will finally find out.
Yeah, because this is like the final chapter. This is one of the biggest mysteries that everybody's drawing fan art of it. It's got their own theories on who's done it, and it's because it's such a mystery. Everybody's wanting to know what it is, and all these 7s on his site. It's got to be pointing to 1987, the event that started a lot of everybody's hype and speculation. This is such a big thing that we just need to know the juicy details. Who the heck did it?
Yeah, I agree, man. It is so intense, and it's just, all the animatronics saying it's me. They're all trying to claim the fame of it, aren't they? So it's this endless struggle. Then there are so many pointers towards each animatronic, with the Mangle static, you know, Foxy and the way he attacks, the way Bonnie, Withered Bonnie launches for you in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It's endless. It really is.
Yeah. The fact though as well that this Freddy is probably the sharpest teeth I've ever seen as well. So I saw something as well, if you remember back in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, there was those rules and it said don't touch Freddy. Do you think maybe that this Freddy's got as a reason why it's to do with that?
Maybe that poster could actually be old. Maybe that poster could actually be pre Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and possibly it carried over.
Because I think that was when, I think if you go on the wiki site and it's got the whole Bite of 87 article, I think that was one of the reasons that Freddy was a suspect, was because of that thing saying don't touch Freddy, he doesn't like it, sort of thing. And so I think that could, like Doc was saying here, with the teeth that's on this new Freddy model that it's just been revealed, those teeth are just so sharp.
Even the fingers as well. And you look at the fingers, jeez, is this a child?
Yeah, how is it child friendly?
I know.
Is this designed for children, this animatronic? Or God, it definitely looks dangerous. And I suppose it all leads back to Freddy kind of having the center of attention again, doesn't it? After all this time, Freddy was truly the true kind of cause of the bite of 87 and almost everything that's happened. And it relates back. Maybe the version of Freddy we saw in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, 2, and 3 isn't quite the one, but looking back, it's always been Freddy, so we've all been on point when we've said that.
Yeah, that's a smart point as well, because in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, it was all focused on Springtrap. It wasn't really focused on Freddy. So it's nice to see Scott going back to the Freddy origins, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was kind of saying, like in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, everyone was saying, where is Freddy? How can you call this Five Nights at Freddy's 3 without Freddy having such a big impact? Here you go, guys. Scott's listened. Here's your answer. It looks like this guy, along with all these small Freddy minion characters, are just going to make up for it pretty much, I think.
The too many Freddys now.
Now
wanted Freddy,
people will be complaining that they don't want Freddy no more. God, he looks absolutely terrifying. No wonder no one wants him as well. I won't be surprised if people are saying that. Okay, guys, so now we're going to be looking at another thing. What is with all the red?
Yes, now, obviously, Halloween is the big release date of this, so it could be a representation of, being a Halloween release, but it could also represent many other things, like maybe fire, the bite of 87, and blood, but yeah, there's loads of possibilities.
Yeah, there's a lot, yeah.
The first one that does spring to mind is blood. Like, I mean, if you're talking about the bite of 87 and somebody's had their frontal lobe bitten, then there's gonna be a hell of a lot of blood up there, and this, it's just a nice... It's scary. You look at red, you think anger, you think blood, you think fear, and it's just such a powerful colour, whereas if you had you have a different colour palette, say green or yellow, for instance, they're a little bit more neutral, they'll lure the eyes in, bring them focusing in on something, but the red is such a strong, powerful colour, just like purple is, and purple and red are very, very similar colours as well.
It's a good point to raise.
Yeah, the red must definitely mean something as well, because he's changed his logo to red as well.
Yeah,
so.
I was going to say, the whole website has gone red themed, hasn't it? All signs are kind of pointing that this red lighting has some significant meaning behind it, and I mean, as Raz was saying, with the red being linked to typically negative things, if we actually look in the bottom, there's some very opaque text, and if you actually brighten the image and do a little bit of correcting, you can see that it reads nightmare.
Nightmare.
So, the whole nightmare theme in red, it all seems to add together. People have nightmares, it's bad things. The whole red color scheme, it's just linked to bad things with this series. So yeah, it all hints to the same thing.
I mean, could this somehow link back to Five Nights at Freddy's 3? Because as we know, Night 6 wasn't called Night 6, it was called Nightmare Mode.
Exactly.
So that could link back to that, definitely.
You have a look at this guy. This guy is going to inspire nightmares. He's horrible. He's not just your, like we were talking about earlier on, he's not just your typical Freddy animatronic. He's got 3 extra Freddys pouring out of his stomach, like Alien or something like that. And it's so Nightmare links back to that. He's very clever. He never has just a single meaning for something that he does. There's always at least 2 or 3 other alternative meanings on top. It's like doing an English essay and you're just reading through a book and you're like, what's the writer trying to describe here? And this what makes it really interesting to discuss as well.
Exactly.
Another important thing about the whole red theme, what color is blood? Blood is of course red. The bite of 87 would have had a lot of blood, so for all we know, the whole red color scheme could be directly linking back with the 80s 8 and 7s in the inspect element.
Guys, I had a very, very out there theory just now. What if this bite of 87 wasn't necessarily biting a customer of the Freddy Fazbear Experience? What if it was actually someone in the suit maybe that happened to? I mean, look at the forehead of this animatronic. Got 2 holes right near the front of his head. I mean, now that I'm just putting that one right out there, but it could just be a crazy theory. But yeah.
That is interesting.
Because it's never discussed. It's never mentioned if it's a child, if it's an employee, if it's just you're one of the adults who has been bitten. So if it was a staff member as well, maybe that's even more reason to cover it up, because you don't want to hire somebody and tell them, by the way, you might get your frontal lobe bitten out of the way.
Absolutely.
We know how hidden the company can be. When the murders occur, they just rip out the carpets and bleach the floors. And even when the problem with Springtrap as well, they sealed all the rooms and left Springtrap in there with the body inside. So they're very secretive with stuff like that because they don't want to tell the world what's happening there, do they?
Definitely.
That actually makes me quite curious then. So the room was sealed up and they found a real one. So where the hell was this guy?
That's what I mean. Like the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 actually took place after the whole suits thing took place, wasn't it? Am I correct in saying that? The 2 suits were used before Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what
yeah,
if the
yeah.
bite of 87 was the spring locking of the suits that happened simultaneously to 2 employees? Maybe that could have possibly. But then saying that, it was in the same year, so they wouldn't have opened in the same year. That would have been a bit. Yeah.
It's still, well, you never know because it does say all around Five Nights at Freddy's 2, my day at the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Yeah.
So it's a grand reopening, and you never know how fast they could have reopened because maybe if it would have stayed closed longer, people would have started to suspect things and get a little bit edgy with what's going on here.
Yeah.
So now the 4th bit, and actually probably a really important bit. What's with the hat?
Now, as we know, in the last teaser image, we saw the Freddy Fazbear hat, the very distinct Freddy Fazbear hat, under a spotlight. And all of a sudden it went missing, and now we see this guy holding up a hat, which isn't the same, obviously, because it has wires hanging out of it.
Yeah.
But this is obviously
Yeah.
a direct hint between, this game is going to be about Freddy, almost.
Yeah, most importantly, I think this directly links to this character most likely being possibly Fredbear.
Yes.
Or Spring Freddy, one of the two.
It's apart from looking like he's very sophisticated by the way he's holding that fancy hat.
All he needs is a monocle, really.
He's got the top hat already.
In the other hand, he's swishing around some fine bourbon.
He's got a cane, he's got a cane.
Yeah, just can't see it.
Yeah.
It's the hat. The hat just shows that it's got to be a Freddy character here, and I think as we've already talked about with the 5 fingers there, it's got to be Spring Freddy. Also, if you really brighten the image, it kind of looks like he's just off to the left-hand side or the right-hand side as you're looking at the image of the spotlight. You know how there's 2 spotlights coming down, angled towards the checkered floor where the hat was. It looks like he's off to the side. So maybe this is another link back. I know you have said the hat is different, but maybe he was always off to the side of this image. Maybe he's been just shut down for so long.
Yeah.
And then he's finally picked up his hat and ready to continue whatever work he is up to next.
I see, yeah, I understand your point.
And the fact that for Five Nights at Freddy's 4, it's all been the focus on Freddy. Like, we haven't seen anything else apart from Freddy, from all these teasers. So it's interesting to see if we're actually going to see anything else apart from Freddy in this game. I'm sure we are. So I'm excited to see what the next teasers are going to be like.
Well, in Five Nights at
absolutely,
Freddy's 3, I think that we all thought there was only going to be one left, but it turned out to be quite the opposite. There was hallucinations of past animatronics, so yeah, you could be right there.
And now I think the last thing we're going to be discussing in this video is something which is very intriguing. What's up with those small Freddys? Guys, what do you think?
They're nightmare fuel, that's what they are. I think the nightmare text at the bottom pretty much explains what is happening in this image.
Oh, yeah.
They're terrifying, but if we link back to what we were talking about earlier on with the whole red colour scheme, blood, hell sort of references, just the first thing that strikes me as you've got the Guardian of Hell, the Gates of Hell Guardian, you've got Cerberus, which is a 3-headed dog.
Yeah.
If you have a look at the chest, you've got the 3 heads there. It just immediately brings on like imagery of that kind of thing. So is this Freddy potentially some sort of accessory to some of the murders that have been going on? Maybe he's got a big secret that he's guarding, perhaps. Maybe this Freddy here is the gateway to unlocking the final parts of the story.
Definitely so,
Quite possibly.
Scott has used lots of hallucinations in the past as well. Through especially Five Nights at Freddy's 3, we get lots of hallucinations of all the other animatronics from the past pizzerias, and it's really terrifying. So the thing about Nightmare is the fact that is this just an hallucination of what we're seeing of the 3 heads ripping out of its body, or are these little Freddy creatures actually going to be real, and are we actually going to have to find out tactics how to get rid of these little Freddys?
Yeah, because if you do look at them, they all actually have endoskeletons, don't they?
Yes, yes.
And that's really unique. And
it's quite weird as well how someone has created these little things, you know? It's quite weird. Why would you want
Yeah,
to create these little clockwork endoskeleton figures?
Oh, it's bizarre. I almost thought that when I first saw this, it might even be like a metaphor for this version of Freddy being kind of like the primary one, the main one. Because we've actually had 3 generations prior. We've had the Withered Freddy, we've had the Five Nights at Freddy's 1 Freddy, and we've also had the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 Toy Freddy. So there has been a past 3 Freddys, literally. So this guy could just, I don't know, maybe they could be small, maybe it could be a metaphor for this guy being kind of like the big daddy of them all, the main guy,
Yes.
the main Freddy, the way that Freddy Fazbear the whole name of Freddy Fazbear was kind of gathered from him and not those guys.
Yeah, it's got to be, this dude's got to be the main Freddy, because, as we said, if this is Spring Freddy, why would they make us a Spring Bonnie, and for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza we've no Spring Freddy? So it's got to be the main. He's the main man. It's got to be.
It has to be. Agreed. 100% agreed.
I like the idea of these little critters running about as well, because if you have a look at them, you have a look at the top one, he looks like he's coming out of the body and he's sort of broken through. The one on the left hand side looks like he's almost ready to fall out and walk on his own, and the one on the right hand side looks like his head's just slightly appeared through him. So maybe there's more inside him, and he's some kind of like incubating center for loads of these little guys.
Almost like how spiders store their little the little ones on their back, and there's hundreds of them.
Yes.
Isn't there?
Oh man.
I had an imagery where we see this guy stood still with these little animatronics, and then we look back at the camera, and one of these little Freddys is missing from its body. That would be cool to see.
And we were talking about yesterday, weren't we, Dawko? That what happens if these guys do run about? You're focusing on something that's a lot bigger than they are. So it would be harder. You'd be focused in on the cameras even more, trying to find these little guys that make the jump scares even scarier, because you wouldn't be expecting them as much because they're just little guys.
Yeah, these guys best not like run around. That would be absolutely horrific.
Freaking terrifying.
Oh gosh, there's so many things that Scott could do now with these little guys, and I'm not sure I like it. In the way of this is going to scare the absolute crap out of me.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be the best yet, fear-wise.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay then guys, so this was a pretty intense discussion on what this new, or should I say in quotation marks, newly introduced animatronic might mean to us, and what all the different things within could also represent. If you did enjoy the video guys, be sure to like it, and hey, if you're new to either of our channels, be sure to subscribe, and there'll be many more theories coming very soon for you guys to see. So thank you very much for watching the video guys, and we hope to see you on the next video on all of our channels.
Goodbye guys.
Bye!